Many of us have been in this space before for the same reason, and no doubt we'll be here again in the future, because that's what we do in the small community. Someone who means so much slips from our circle. As a newspaper man, I wrote in the past that you can make too much of the big city bad and small town good thing. Because people in cities have the same feelings we have, and the same feeling of loss, and the same joys. But in a lot of ways, the death of a friend in a community like this is different, because it touches what we think of as the Bayfield family that we're all part of. It touches, if I can borrow a phrase, our shared community, which might just be a pinprick on our shared planet, but it's our pinprick, and that's why it means so much. And so we gather like this to share memories, to share hugs and tears, and maybe a few fun notes along the way as we embrace Lori and Jim's family, and as we also embrace each other and find comfort. You might be wondering why me? First, because Lori asked. And second, with the exception of Jim's family members, I might have known him as long as most people here. There's a couple that came from Janesville. I grew up in Janesville as well as Jim did. In high school, Jim and my brother Dick became very close friends and running buddies. So I was a few years older, but I got to know Jim as one of the guys who would come around the house often. My mother's go-to dessert in those days was something we call marble squares, which were really just chocolate chip cookies baked in a pan and cut into squares. They were easy to make, and we all enjoyed them, so she kept making them. And sometimes after Jim and Dick had been out very late at night, they would come home and get into the marble squares. And they would leave my mom a letter grade on that batch, A- or B+. And Mom would get up the next morning and get her grade, and she'd be so pleased that the boys left her baking. Mom had no concept of the lunches. After a few years, Jim and Dick went different directions, but they stayed friends. Dick described him as the kind of friend and we're all lucky to have one of these. But even so time passes, you hear the voice on the phone and you're right back where you were. There's no catching up to do. It's one of those things. Dick came on Saturday to the service in Janesville. And if my mom wasn't getting around so well anymore, she would have been there as well, because Jim's friendship extended beyond just my brother to our parents as well. Occasionally, when he was in Janesville to visit his family, he would stop to see my parents as well. We got there once to visit my parents, and Jim was sitting in the kitchen, and he sat right across the table to show what he'd been doing in Alaska. About 5 years ago, my dad had been in a nursing home for some rehab, and he was able to go home for what he called his incarceration. And he limped into the apartment on his walker. He looked over at the couch, and Jim was sitting there, and he said, "Hi, Jim." As if it was perfectly natural that Jim would be there. And it was. Never in Eddie Haskell kind of way, but that was just what Jim did. But enough about those days. We're here to talk about Jim's Bayfield years, when we all became friends again. We're going to do that with stories and with song. First, Bryson, Wisconsin.
Go in kindness, go in love, go in faith. Leave the day behind us, day is done, Lord grace. Let us go into the dark, not afraid, not alone. Let's go by God's grace, safely to the light of God. Let's go by God's grace, safely to the light of God.
Thank you. Jim's physical presence is gone, but his spirit lives on, and it's represented by the flame on the candle at the table. And like the flame, that spirit can be shared. Lori is going to light a candle. Jim's nephew Ben will light one on behalf of the Ramsdell family, and Dee Johnson will light one on behalf of our community. When Jim and Lori chose Bayfield for their new home some years ago, they came to the community not knowing anybody. And they were lucky enough, they ran into Jill Runnick, and Jill and Jeff invited them to dinner. And that began the process of introducing them to all of you. And here's Jill.
Lori, beloved family and friends, Jill and I took a walk this morning to gather our thoughts for the day. And we found ourselves, as you often do in the forest, flickering between flashes of bright light and shadows. Light and shadow, light and shadow. The symbolism of that was not lost. Because I'm sure that ever since hearing of Jim's passage, many of us have been flickering between the shadows of grief and the bright sunny light of smiling, or even laughing out loud at some of the great memories that we share with Jim and Laura. That's the nature of grieving. Where there is light in the world, there will be darkness. Where there is darkness, there is sure to come light. Laughter, it is written, joins hands with grief. And even now, it's hard for me not to smile in this room at a memory that Jill and I shared very early in Lori and Jim's time here in Bayfield. I know many of you remember the Christmas pageant. In fact, I think many of you were in it. One year, our daughter Anna, with her good friend Jim Gephardt, were in it for the first time. And so Jill and I came, and Lori and Jim came to support them in their theatrical debuts. And we were all dressed up in our fancy clothing. The pavilion was all decked out. We were sitting right over there. And Jill and I kept hearing the strangest noise. Jingle bells. Now, jingle bells is not that unusual to hear at a Christmas pageant. But, and there's no other way to say this, the sound appeared to be coming from Jim's pants. What is that noise? We finally said. And Jim and Lori broke up laughing. Sure enough, Jim had worn his musical underwear and he got jingle bells. So at this point in the program, management would like to request that anybody wearing musical underwear be sure it's on the silence mode. That might seem like an unusual way to start a eulogy. I hope so. Because Jim Ramsdell was an unusual man. He was complex. He knew both the darkness and the light. And he had a gift. He could look at something that might seem to you or I like an ordinary piece of wood, something we would toss in the campfire or on the wood pile, and see something extraordinary. A kingfisher staring down an otter, a sea turtle drifting over some strands of coral, a feather seemingly poised for flight. He could see in an ordinary piece of wood something of spirit and beauty and hope. You could see the extraordinary in the ordinary. So while we are, of course, gathered here to mourn and to give Lori and Jim's family and each other comfort in this difficult time, I hope too that we can rise above and see in this moment a chance to acknowledge the complexity of the world that we live in, to let grief and laughter join hands, to see both the light and the dark, as Jim did in his life and his art. And it was as an artist that most of us knew Jim best. By the time he came here, he had had his career in restoring Victorian homes in the Jamesville area. He had already sold everything and moved to Alaska for a summer vacation that turned into a decade of being immersed in nature. And he had already discovered how wood seemed to come alive in his hands. Some would say that Jim carved animals. And if you only look superficially at his work, that's true. But look deeper. What Jim was really carving was awe. You can't stand in front of a Jim Ramsdell carving and not feel like you are in the presence of the sublime. At first, for the work itself. Are those feathers really carved out of wood? How did he make the coral look so real? But as with all great art, the mechanics quickly fade, and you are left in the presence of the art itself. And that is not about mechanics. It's about spirit, that powerful spirit that causes migrating salmon to travel hundreds of miles back to their home stream. The dance-like grace of a pot of dull purpose, strung like musical notes above you. The quiet wisdom of the great gray owl staring into your soul. The power of art is to transcend, to take us beyond the ordinary and into the extraordinary. Jim's work did that, reminding us again and again of the complexity of the world we live in and the humbleness of our place in it. Jim understood that humbleness. For all the accolades, he never let the work become more important than the people who viewed it. I'm reminded of a story he often told of the dull porpoise project he did for the Alaska Sea Life Center in Seward. A beautiful 50-foot sculpture capturing a cascading pod of dull porpoise hung over their main stairwell. As usual, Jim was looking for a deeper connection. So he came up with the idea of having school children write notes about why the ocean and its creatures were so important to them, and he would put them inside and hang them up as kind of a sculpted time capsule. So local school teachers got the kids together with their crayons, they gathered the notes, they brought them to Jim, he put them into the hollow sculptures, and he meticulously finished them all up, spent hours hanging them in the rafters in exactly the right positions, and then you know what happens. He looks down and there's that one sad-eyed child holding a note. A note that's supposed to be in the sculpture. Jim just smiles at one of the sculptures, lowered a mail slot in the back of his speech, inserted the forgotten letter, meticulously finished the details, and then positioned it back in its perfect position. That child will never forget that. And that is what was important to Jim. Not the fame, not the chance to sell his work for thousands of dollars, but the simple, transformative power of art. Jim did show us beauty through his art, but like laughter joining hands with grief, the light of that beauty was inexorably tied to the shadow. Jim felt deeply the darkness of the ongoing difficult human relationship with the natural world. He carried that weight terribly and heavily. He did not let it, however, become an excuse for resigned inaction. He said once in an interview, non-participation is no longer an option. And so he participated by founding Our Shared Planet, whose mission was, quote, dedicated to the raising the awareness of the natural world and and to fostering a reverence for others' people. A reverence. You can see that reverence firsthand in the eyes of anyone who steps up to one of Jim's carvings. Sure, he did a lot of scientific research to make sure that his carvings were biologically accurate. He worked surrounded by field guides and scientific notations. But he knew, with all due respect to the politicians and scientists in the room, that if there are to be polar bears roaming free on the ice, if there is to be clean air for hawks to soar in, and clean water for dolphins to dive in, if there are to be wild places where the wolves can string their howls from the stars, science is not enough. Politics is not enough. It will take reverence and wonder, that undeniable chill that runs down your spine when you roll your head back and look at the northern lights on Curly Road. The euphoria of watching a humpback whale reach out of the ocean waves at a 40-foot exclamation. The unbridled joy of watching a red-tailed hawk take flight. It will be in wonder and in the love that is born in wonder that we finally seek to mend the tatters of our relationship with nature. And Jim knew that. In his workshop as he carved, Jim often kept inspirational quotes nearby. One that I remember well on a small yellow piece of paper comes from Wendell Berry, who wrote, "What we do not love, we will not say." It is that striving to create love that I hope we will remember and honor most at this gathering here today and in all the days to come. That light. There will be dark days. Where there is light, there is also darkness. There is no denying. Lori, you have another kind of mountain to climb with. But as someone who has climbed with you, I know your strength. And I know that you know you will never climb with. Each of us will mourn and remember Jim Ramsdell in our own way. But it is my belief that we honor most those who we have lost, not only by mourning, but also by acknowledging the light and carrying on the shining hope of what they lived for. Jim's life and work were aimed at urging us to open our eyes, discover a path for a stronger and more lasting bond with the natural world. And it is to that natural world that many of us will turn to today for solace. Wendell Berry, the same poet whose words hung over Jim's shoulder as he carved, surely understood the healing powers of nature when he wrote his poem, The Peace of Wild Things. When despair for this world grows in me, and I awake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with the forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still waters, and feel above me the day-blind stars, waiting for the light. For time I rest in the grace of the world, and then free. Glory, and to all of us gathered here today, when despair for Jim's passing grows in you, and it will, may you too come into the peace of wild things. The same wild things that Jim dedicated his life to making us see, teaching us how to love, urging us to protect. To Jim, we hope that you have felt that darkness slip at least a little bit off of your shoulders, and that you too have stepped into the light and now rest in the grace of the world, this one and the next. Like those day-blind stars waiting for their light, we may not see Jim anymore in our physical day-to-day lives, but he will be there in things ordinary and extraordinary, in migrating salmon and soaring hawks, and what compels and inspires us to lead a more thoughtful and compassionate life for nature and for each other. And it is to nature, like our walk this morning in the forest, that I come to for the final message I would like to leave you with today. A lesson that Jim you learned. In every life, there is darkness. But there is also that sweet, shining light waiting just ahead. If only we have the strength to step into it. So let laughter and grief join hands. Let the light and the darkness join hands. Let friends and loved ones join hands. And through the love and strength of our joined lives, let us all step forward and walk together into that sweet, sweet light.
We turn again to some music.
As we go, as we roll down some road, no trouble weighing you down. If you are lost, and I can be found. Just know that I'm gonna make this place our home. Stay, I'll be clear. Don't pay your mind to the demons that fill you with fear. All troubles are made with you down. You are lost and I can be found. Just know I'm not alone. Gonna make this place our home. Don't pay no mind to the demons who fill you with fear. You know the truth, so they bring you down. If you're lost, you'll always be found. Just know you're not alone. Gonna make this place our home.
In Bayfield, Jim joined a strong contingent of skilled artists and woodworkers and craftsmen like him who took inspiration from this great lake. Charlie Brown was one who found in Jim a kindred spirit in many ways, both in work and in life.
Wow.
really sucks, doesn't it? I mean, Jim, all people. If we could answer that question today, that would be something. I know I can't. But we're here in celebration, a well-deserved one. And I only wish that Jim was here to celebrate with us because he was with us. When I got the news of Jim's death, I was physically weakened by it. And in writing this tribute, the lines were frequently blurred with tears. And it's quite possible this whole talk could disintegrate into a rambling, babbling, coughing that you'll be challenged to get anything out of. But to try to avoid that, I may wind up just reading much of what I've written. I haven't committed it all to rote. And in the interest of getting everything I want to say said, I may just simply read from the notes. For those of you that don't know me, I am Charlie Brown. I live in Bayfield, and I'm giving tribute from a French perspective. Lin-Manuel Miranda, the creator of the hit musical Hamilton, wrote a song whose title and refrain is, "I am not going to throw away my shot." It describes Hamilton's frame of mind when he arrived in America. To me, it also described Jim's frame of mind when as a young man he packed up for Alaska, finding his He left an already successful business where he had a reputation for quality, innately detailed carpentry and woodworking. But he was stressed out and unhappy, and felt a pull as powerful as the Alaskan tides of some deeper and as yet undefined need for meaning. He was not going to throw away his shot. As he awakened his talent, then he spoke of getting consumed by the creative process, sometimes until the wee hours. After calling it what, a day, a night, a morning, he would walk home and people would be out on the porches at 3 a.m. The circadian rhythms messed up by the endless summer light. Someone would be offering coffee, someone would be offering a nightcap. But whatever was being offered, and no matter the time of day, Jim was the kind of guy you wanted to welcome on your porch. He was a man that greeted well and was well greeted. One of the most remarkable things about Jim's talent was how little ego he had invested in his art. For a while, I thought of him as the wanderer that scrawled a perfect haiku on a stone, turned it over in the sand, and walked away. Art for art's sake, free from self. But that was not Jim. He was about sharing. He would have gone back, dug it up, said, "Check it out." He was never about recognition for himself. It was about recognition for the life form he was creating and his place in the web of life. Once he started in, it seemed to me amazingly linear in progression as blocks of basket took form. At times I think it even astonished him. I know that painting could be vexing to get the coloration and markings of the trout right, but very little went into the woodstone was too. The middle innings in bringing his sculptures to life involved the repetitious tedium of creating feathers, fur, fins, and scales. And in his most recent unfinished piece, he had a sucker to the list. And not on one, but 8 tentacles of an octopus. Those tentacles, he said, pushed him to new levels of finesse of the bandsaw. That was the thing. Didn't we all feel or even know that as an artist, an environmental educator, as a friend, as an evolving human being, the best was yet to come? But it isn't because Jim was a gifted artist with a legacy that we all love him. And I say love because I want to hang on to the present tense as long as I can. No, we love him because there are a lot of really silly pictures out there of Jim. It was a lot of fun and quick with a wig. We sensed that he really enjoyed us as much as we enjoyed him. You got the feeling, even in casual friendship, he was never in a hurry to break off a visit or a conversation. In particular, what made Jim fun for me was he was up for a dance, or even two, with impropriety or imprudence, never out of malice or recklessness, but he had an appealing bit of rascal in him still. He was at least willing to start down the path in the direction of the absurd story. He would sometimes create a character, as he did one afternoon on pontooning on Lake Namakagon. He became our server, Ransom Billy. The bartender proprietor of Ransom Billy's back in the boat bar. On the hour, he would open the bar by lifting the puckered button upholstery of the bench seat in the stern and turn cocked around from whatever was cast again. As the afternoon wore on, the quality of the libations created decline, but still were consumed until we were all walking water fluids. No, I didn't see a brain aneurysm coming, none of us did. He took such good care of himself. I thought his or our demise might have done something more like this, that allowed us all in head shaking. What were those two knuckleheads? What were they doing out there at that time of night and in the condition? The answer? Having a really great time. We weren't always the best influence on each other. Last burger night we shared together before he left Alaska was a comical example. We often laughed about how we were the rubes they create half-price burgers in the store. We met at the rec center and I said, I'll go if you go. We could make it cheap this time. No upgrades to fries, I'll skip the salad, but maybe just one beer. We got seated, I decided to order railed in at the time. The ratcheting had already begun. He was on a cleanse, which he frequently did, but decided to end it that night. Do I do that to people? He says, I think I'll have a margarita. A good one. Maybe with Patron, Cointreau, triple sec, easy on the roses line, salt on the rim. I say, wow, that sounds pretty good. You better get me one of those too. He never wanted to order food when the drink order came. Again, he was never interested in being in a hurry. The meal eventually was ordered, came. He was thinking of a beer to wash it down. He saw me sliding my margarita glass over for a refill. He says, oh, you're getting another. Better get me one too. The bill came, he just laughed and flipped it at me. We successfully kept the burger bill under $11 for the two of us. Beverages, 58. Of course, it wasn't all the food with Jim. While we are as often loved for our weaknesses and our flaws as we are our strengths, reflecting on Jim's attributes, I could only come up with positives. It is possible that Lori, or Jim's brothers and sisters, would straighten me out on me. He always made me feel better about my situation. Even though I sometimes expressed I had no more of a plan than a moth stuck in the lamp table. He never allowed me to take myself too seriously. I was focused on the good fortune we all have in hand. Besides, he'd only pathetically say, what does it all matter? Any one of us could be dead tomorrow. Enjoy today. In gathering my thoughts about Jim's character, what rose slowly like a bubble burst from the bottom of the lagoon was the recognition of what a gentleman he was. He was like a bird from a blog describing his recognition of his manners. Though he could tease, he never said anything mean-spirited, crass, or anything. There was never any locker room talk to him. And I was in the locker room a lot. His head started to lean in the center of the table, and the talk turned to petty, oddly happy or snarky gossip. He seldom missed the opportunity to shut up, or in some instances, lob in a complete ridiculous non-sequitur that would derail everything. Jim was one of the few visitors I get. He was a welcome practitioner of the drop-in, in an era where few find times and spontaneous. More than once, he would tap his horn as he went by, get down to the stop sign, block two away, think better of it, put it in reverse, back up, spend an hour. No idea how we're hearing. Death is good about extending the invitation to regret. I certainly regret not having this educated. We would sit and chat and watch the fading light until we were completely close to dusk. I wish I could tell you they were great philosophical discussions between an artist and a craftsman, and that I have them archived as the Jimmy sessions. But it was just two friends hanging out, comfortable with our silences. I mentioned it before, but one of his greatest gifts of friendship was that he made you feel he never was in a hurry. How we spend our days, in the end, is how we spend our lives. Jim spent his days well. He was good at the mundane. The primary definition for mundane is bound to earth. He spent his days in meaningful, creative endeavor balanced by recreation. He was in a collaborative and loving relationship. He spent time in the company of many well-deserved friends. He had the companionship of pets in the natural world he so loved. Jim did not throw away his shot. It was a life well lived, and we were lucky to share it. I know Jim was known for his soaring spirits, and I like to think of him as brave, smart, ubiquitous, swagger, and a little bit of a rascal. And he was so good at that call. Jim will leave profoundly used. He has left a hole in our souls that will take a long time to catch. What can we do to honor him with remembrance and remain open to his continued influence in our lives? Gloria is suffering, Jim's family is suffering, and now I'm suffering, I'm suffering, and all of you are suffering. But none of us, not one among us, is ever going to Jim Ramsdell's funeral again. Let's be there. John Johanny is our next speaker. He was someone who grew up in Janesville as well, and knew Jim on the early days and reconnected.
Well, I'm honored to be here, speaking in front of you all folks, concerning a very, very good friend, Jim. As Deb said, in quite a ways. But before I get any further into this, Lori, I wanted to tell you that I texted you on Monday, the day that Jim's order came, and I was talking to Bill Marshall, good friend of Jim's, mine. I guess I'm supposed to use this. I'm not used to one of these things. And I was talking to Billy at about 10:30 in the morning, and he said, "Hey, there's a bald eagle flying by the cabin." That building's on the Mississippi River, bald eagle flying by the cabin right now. I said, "Well, Jimmy's stopping by to say hello, and I think he's on his way to the Eagle Center to show off his new wings." So, I'm not nearly as eloquent of a speaker as we've had here today. That's awesome, just awesome. Glasses. But I met Jim after high school, and basically through motorcycle riding, motocross especially. Jim was everybody's local hero. I guess we used to ride at a place outside Janesville called Thunder Valley. There was some private owned land, and some people, just kids or whatever, that started trails. We gathered out there. I didn't know Jim before that, but I started racing around a bit. It grew into a friendship, and we shared being partying at the London pub, and we've been camping at Devil's Lake State Park, and the infamous Bear Trap was it's another saloon in Janesville that we laughed and carried on quite a bit. The Bear Trap, one of their signature drinks, is called Chainsaw. They had others, but I couldn't remember them. There's a reason for that. I did have the pleasure of living with Jim on a couple of occasions, and one of the premier places living with Jim was on a pig farm outside of Janesville. It was called Miles Road. Was the location of the farm, and that was kind of the go-to place after the bars closed, party house, Miles Road, and lots of carrying on went there. Jim, was an extraordinary person, and he enjoyed just laughing, and some of his good friends, they worked at the Oscar Church Furniture factory in Janesville. One of the things they liked to do was on lunch breaks would be to have belt sander races. Pretty sure they had jumps and all kinds of things built into the racetrack. I never experienced that. To get some idea of the uniqueness of Jim and his close friends back then, and some of the abnormal behaviors, some of his friends' nicknames were Hillbilly, Mojo, Weedle, Jethro. We had somebody called the Destroyer, Captain Bob, who was otherwise known as Rigger, and Rigger is short for Rigor Mortis. That's because he moved rather slowly. There was Jim's nemesis, motocross racing challenger. He had the infamous name of Big Boss. And somehow I rose to the distinction of being the rat's ass. One of the things that Jim did out of the ordinary was he was real good at planning bachelor parties. And on one particular bachelor party for his friend Joe, and Joe was also a roommate on Miles Road, Jim, he erected an encampment. He built an encampment out in the woods behind the Miles Road farmhouse. And it included a bar and a roof structure, tarps and things like that, and he made tables out of logs. There were tiki torches, a big fire pit, and the fire pit, or on the side of the fire pit, he buried a turkey, kept the coals on that, and cooked the turkey all afternoon. And as the evening came on, it kind of started looking like a scene from the show Survivor. What could possibly go wrong? But guests would arrive at the farmhouse, and one pet that was left out of the obituary that Jim had was Angelo. They had a pet pig, and they rescued Keith, was his name. Keith evaded getting in the trailer that was going to take him off the slaughter. So Jim asked the landlord John if he could keep Keith for a while, and John said okay. So he had a pig that wandered around the farmhouse at times, mostly outside. But people arrived from this bachelor party, and they get out of their cars, and the guys in here's this pig wandering around the yard, and the big Keith would escort the guests up the trail from the woods into the encampment. And Joe, the groom, he came from Chicago for the most part, and his friends came up from Chicago. They absolutely could not believe. They were wondering, here's this pig all up the trail to the encampment. It's like, where does this happen? Well, Miles Road, Jimmy Ramsdell's place. Well, as with any good bachelor party, there needs to be a ritual performed to bless the upcoming nuptial. And this particular one at the encampment, involved an axe that was heating in the fire and a certain body part from the turkey cooking in the ground. Jim was the designated axe man because he was the best man. And unfortunately, the axe missed its mark, and Joe incurred a significant gash to the inside of his thigh. In the groin area. So now we gotta load Joe up in a four-wheel drive truck to get him out of the woods. Get him out of the woods, put him in the van, take him to the hospital, emergency room. That's what happens at lots of action parties. Highly unusual. So they get to the emergency room, and I think they must have pulled up to like where the ambulance is coming or something, but they couldn't get the door open into the emergency room. And Joe got mad, and I don't know what he used, but he smashed the window of the emergency room door so they could get in. They got in. But now, the cops are definitely going to be involved in this dispatch. Anyhow, we got him up to see a doctor, and the doctor says to Joe, well, what happened here? Joe says, I fell on an axe. The doctor says, looks at him, really? He goes, well, this wound, it isn't bleeding. It's actually cauterized. How do you explain this? Joe, already kind of angry about the door not being open. He looks at the doctor and goes, well, yes, it was hot. So, anyhow, nobody got into any trouble. The cops came and blah, blah, blah. They talked the way out of it, I guess. These guys are harmful to anybody but themselves. So they let them go, and everybody lived happily ever after. Jim had a great sense of humor. He loved to play jokes with people and pranks, and one of the things he would do, and I found this out 2 weeks ago when I was in Janesville to see Jim for the last time. He was in the hospital. We went to Clifford's house. There was a gathering of friends and so forth. And one of our friends, Bill, Lively, told a story of Jim. Well, Jim had he was one of the first guys that I ever remember in Janesville that had those hippie vans back in the 70s when the hippie vans came out. There's wide tires, mag rims, all fixed up in the back. So Jim would, so Bill, they're all partying at the Bear Trap, it's after bar time, and just going out, probably out to Miles Road to carry on, to continue the party. And Bill was, and some of the other guys that were back were experimenting with recreational mind-altering substances. And this was interesting to find out that Dick was your brother, and Dick was there too. He was with Jim. He was with Jim, and well, everybody was with Jim. Jim and Dick was in the front. Jim was driving, and Dick was riding in the passenger seat. And Bill said, we were in the back, just, his words were wasted. And he says, well, we were back to laughing and just carrying on having a good time. And I looked up front, and there was nobody driving. There was nobody in the passenger seat. Jim and Dick had gotten out of the van. They had probably put it in idle, so we put it in here. So it was just rolling down the highway. They pretty slowly. And they were chopping on next to the van until they heard a scream and holler from the back of the van. There was nobody driving this van. And one of the funny parts about this at Comforts, somebody, I don't remember who it was, because he did that to me too. And I want to tell a story about when Jim and I and Lori went to Onondaga. We went to the Porcupine Mountains for skiing. And we had dinner in Onondaga, and then went across the street to another bar. And we walked into the bar, and 1 second, speaking of bars, so we get in there and we're just having a beer and so forth. And this across the bar was some local people, 3, 4, 5 guys, a couple gals, and one of the guys says, "Well, where are you guys from?" So we told him, Bayfield, Washburn, whatever, and he buys us a shot of tequila. We go, "Well, we like this guy." And so toast, shot of tequila, and the guy has us another one. So we're going, "Oh, I think we're in for a real match here." So anyhow, I call this guy, I mean the Duke. He was definitely trying to find out what we were made of. And so we do the second shot, and then Jim and I start buying it back. And the Duke, he stopped drinking his shots. Jim and I happily drank ours as we kept going. And then one of the Duke's buddies came over, and what he said to us is right after the first shot, he comes over and he goes, "You just passed a huge test." And Jim and I have laughed about that. If we ever want to make each other laugh, we would just say to each other, right out through the blue, just go, "You just passed a huge test." So anyhow, the guy, the Duke's buddy, I'm calling him Gus. He comes over, "Yep, you just passed a huge test." And then the night was carrying on a little bit, and I think he asked us if we were brothers. And we said, "Yeah, we're brothers." And then Lori goes over to Gus and tells him, we're brothers, but we're gay." Remember that? Lori? You don't remember that? Well, I'm not going to guarantee the authenticity of all of this. But it happened. And then, on top of that, she goes, "They're not only gay, but they're gay lovers." So we decided maybe it was time to leave before we got beat up. Humiliating the Duke and just have a good time. So now what I wanted to do is relate to one of the really fun things from Jim, and Lori, and Charlie. And most all of you know a number of dogs, and Charlie was his most recent one. And he passed a little while ago. But one of the things that Jim would do, and I'm sure quite a few people have experienced this, on your birthday, he would call you up, and Charlie would sing happy birthday. Charlie was pretty good at happy birthday. In his younger days, you actually could believe he was singing happy birthday. As he got a little older, he kind of muddled the words, and he got lazy or whatever. He's got to sing happy birthday enough times where these people need another one for him. But anyhow, so, and when Charlie passed, it was January, February. Well, all along, I had saved on my voicemail machine the last time that Jim called Charlie singing happy birthday. So that, and I told Jim that after Charlie passed, that I would play him my voicemail one last so he could hear Charlie's happy birthday song. And so I brought that with me. And in this case, Charlie is singing happy birthday to everybody in this room that has a birthday. Ready? See what happens. One other thing that Jim and I and a number of people, let's see if I got, make sure I got my notes here. How about cops coming? All right. We had this group of friends from Janesville who have heard, we probably Woodchuck. There's a group of friends who call themselves the Woodchucks. Does anybody here know what a woodchuck call sounds like? Anybody? No? You're going to find out. So the call of a woodchuck, well, the call of a woodchuck is a primal scream that sounds something like this. So the call of a woodchuck is a multi-purpose call. It can be used for many, many, many reasons. Usually it's a hello. So most of the time it's also I'll see you later, or to see each other again. It's used in celebration. You know, did something good for Jim. You go, and so today I would like to initiate. It's called Draw, and we are. I would like to come to John. They're moderated up here with Jim and I, woodchuck call, and we passed it. John and Mary, and Jim and I think somebody else. I don't know. We went on a book across the HT on it, and Draw became a call of the hour. Every time you needed a shot or something. So they took it up, and when you see another woodchuck, you're supposed to give a woodchuck call. You hope they aren't looking. You want to sneak up on another woodchuck. Scare it with the woodchuck call. But if you're a seasoned woodchuck, it doesn't even faze you, and you just turn to the person and shroud right back. That's how it works. So John and Mary became be good friends with Jim. There was a lot of shroud, went back and forth there, and then their daughters picked it up. Emma and Greta, they would shroud Jim upon seeing him on the street. So we're going to do a collective shroud. I'm saying it's until we meet again. See you later. Thank you for everything, shroud. But I'm going to have John and Mary and Emma and Greta and Bob, are you going to come up and we're going to do a demonstration, small group, and then we're all going to do it. Okay? All right. And then Clifford, you were coming up. Yeah. All right. So, I'll count 3. Okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. So, hope you're all ready. And if I see even one of you not try, we're doing this again. All right, on 3. Stand up. I like that. Stand up. I like it. So let's let it rip. We want Jim to hear us. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Well, it would be awesome if you heard Jim Shroud one last time. So I've got that with me as well. All ready? Let's let the celebration begin. You see, I don't know where we are. We're not done yet. As soon as we're done, let's let the celebration begin.
I've done a few of these journals before, and I've never had to follow a singing dog in the woodshop. I was never there to witness this, but I'm told that many mornings began with Jim and Lori singing a mashed up version of Amazing Grace. It could be Amazing Jim or Amazing Charlie or whatever. And here's Molly. Amazing
Grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. It was grace that taught my heart to feel, and grace my fear. And grace as it appeared, and now I am the first to believe. When we've been on 10,000 years, but shining as the sun, there are no days to sing the praise than when we're first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now was blind, I see. My letter to June. My dear sweet June, I write this letter to you now because I need to tell my very best friend that my heart is breaking. It aches with a pain so deep that I fear it will never be the same again. I've lost a part of me, and that missing part is you. I feel numb and afraid. You were my gentle giant. You had a soft and quiet nature, yet your words and deeds were so powerful and strong when you were standing up for something that you believed in. You were a very humble man. No creature was more important than the other, man or otherwise. You treated all people and creatures with respect and dignity. You didn't care about a person's status, wealth, or first impression. You loved getting to know others and hearing their words. You believed that everyone had a story to tell, and your own was no greater than theirs. You brought out the best in others, and you made us all better people because of your example on how to live a meaningful life. You were my knight in shining armor. If I saw a spider, I'd call out, and you would come to my aid and rescue me. You would gently scoop up the book in glass, take it outside, and set it free so I wouldn't stomp on it. Each morning, we fed our birds and squirrels, and you would stand with outstretched arms and let the chickadees land in your seed-filled hands. You reminded me of a statue of St. Francis. You were calm and still as the birds sensed your kindness and peace. When you noticed that a little porcupine who would visit us every day had been injured, you curled up a towel and made a small bed for it under the porch during those cold, frosty nights. You would place a lid full of water and a little plate of nuts and berries in his new den so he wouldn't have to venture far for food. When our little friend died, you prepared a box filled with freshly picked flowers and pine boughs, and you gently placed him inside. Tears flowed as we tenderly pet the porcupine and said goodbye, then buried him near the edge of the woods on the path that he walked every day. Last month, when we noticed a raccoon that could only walk on 3 legs, you nursed him just the same. You learned how to replicate the call of birds and animals, a skill your mother passed on to you after being raised inside the gates of the Baraboo Zoo while her father was the zookeeper there. You loved to go outside with our dog Charlie at night and stand quietly listening for owls. I would watch from the window as you two had your moment, you hooting into the night sky, then waiting for a reply. Charlie would softly howl at the moon as you made your gentle sounds. Then magically, an owl would answer your call. It's a memory I'll never forget. It was no secret that you loved your Ramsdell family and relatives immensely, and you always enjoyed family gatherings and outings. You could spend hours on the phone chatting with your parents, Dick or Marge, then later Mary, or sharing stories with your brothers and sisters. When anyone needed help, you were there in a moment's notice, offering support in any way that you could, via phone or by your presence. I once asked you who your favorite sibling was: Deborah, Bob, Bill, Tammy, John, or Kathy. Without hesitation, you replied simply and honestly, all of them. I miss you as deeply as I do, June, but we'll try to give each other strength. You would want that. You were also kind to my dad and brothers and sister-in-law, who adopted you as if you were part of our family too. Dad usually had a mental to-do list waiting for you when you came to visit in Janesville. He'd ask for some help, and you told him you'd do it for a beer. as long as it wasn't Bud Light. We all loved her subtle, humorous side. My mom loved to feed you when we came to visit, because she always said, that boy has an appetite. You would take seconds and thirds, and it warmed her heart that someone appreciated her cooking. Our whole family loved to see your artwork in progress, as you would pack your latest creations in the car and give us a sneak peek while we were back in Janesville for a visit. When my mom died, you carved a soaring hawk in her honor, because she once told you she wanted to come back as a red-tailed hawk someday. You loved your community too, and you created an extended family in each place that you called home. Janesville, Seward, and finally here in Bayfield were all places that surrounded you with love. You became an integral part of the fabric of those places and genuinely touched the people that were lucky enough to call you friend. There were many, Jim, and your presence will be missed by all of them. You didn't have much need for email when you wanted to communicate. You preferred conversation, person to person. I remember that when we were apart, we would Skype from places near and far, often carrying our computers around the room or out of doors so we could experience the places together. Distance didn't matter. You didn't have much of a need for technology either. When we were in Alaska, setting up your soaring bald eagle carving, the hotel manager asked you for your cell phone number. You told him you didn't have one. In this day and age, that seemed so odd to him. You smiled and you told him not to worry because you had a princess phone. Then you gestured my way and you said, "There's my princess. She has the phone." I love traveling with you and helping you install your sculptures or set up the OSP exhibit. I was so proud of the man you were. You never sweat the small stuff, and even the big stuff seemed small to you. I remember when one of your carvings had gotten damaged during shipping, and I saw the disappointment when you opened its custom-made crate. I started to cry when I saw the broken bits from that magnificent carving that took you 4 months to create. You took a deep breath, said it was only wooden paint, and then we went to the hardware store to buy clamps, Gorilla Glue, sandpaper, brushes, and paint. You nursed it back to perfection. Then you told me never to tell anyone. Sorry. I learned so much about healthy eating from you, Jim. When I met you, I thought that a chunk of meat with a can of Campbell's vegetable soup poured over, simmering in the crock pot all day, was the ultimate in a balanced, wholesome meal. You had a knack for the fine art of creative cooking, prepared culinary delights without the need of a recipe, combining spices and flavors that were new to me. I'll miss your famous baked beans, your homemade soups, those wonderful stir-fried meals and curries, and your steel-cut oats with all the fixings. You were art in motion in the kitchen, and I was your cook and chief bottle washer. You were a man of simple needs, and what you needed most was to be outside in nature. I'll always remember our walks along Myers Beach. Ending with a picnic way down on the end where the dogs could swim in the calm backwater pond as the stream flowed into Lake Superior. You would set up the cactus chairs that my mom gave us, set up a little table on top of the cooler, and pick flowers for us to enjoy while we shared a bottle of wine and some cheese. With doggies by our side and the whole beach to ourselves, we thought we were in heaven. You love to swim in the lake no matter the season. You once pushed ice chunks apart as the lake was just starting to freeze over. Then you jumped in between them without so much as a scream. Even the dogs gave up swimming months earlier, but you seemed to delight in it. I truly thought you were crazy, Jim Ramsdell. You loved saunas, daily exercise, bike rides up the steep hills by our home, and long runs with all of us together. You holding onto young Charlie's leash as AJ Nuke and I brought up the rear. I must say that I enjoyed the view. You were such a fit and handsome man, and you still take my breath away when I gaze into those beautiful blue eyes. Around 2 o'clock most days, you could be found on the couch. You were the king of naps. How you could fall asleep in an instant, power nap and snore for 20 minutes, then wake up refreshed and ready to go back to your carving was beyond me. I admired your creativity, Jim. You were not only creative in your artwork, but you were inquisitive and creative in your life filled with adventures. A simple road trip usually turned into a side trip off the beaten path and down a windy road, leading to places unknown. You always wanted to explore and know what was on the other side. When you did have a travel plan, it was guided by a map and not a GPS. You hated a voice telling you which way to turn. It was all about trial and error. Getting stuck in knee-deep mud, fixing a flat tire in the middle of nowhere, getting lost and stopping for a picnic until we figured it out were all just a part of the process. Maps gave you limitless possibilities. You were like that too. Life with you was always an adventure. We had a lot of rituals in our life together. I'll miss singing our good morning song as Charlie delighted in the belly rub while we sang Amazing Charlie Boy to the tune of Amazing Grace. The Good Night Doggy song was a special song too, as we sang When You Wish Upon a Star, and we tucked him in for the evening and said, good night, everybody. I must admit that the mama and me probably did most of the singing, while you humored me and hummed along. But later, when the house was still, you often read to me out loud, sharing passages that held special meaning. You were a man of few needs. You believed in simple pleasures, and you had a childlike sense of wonderment and amazement about the world. Your curious nature would compel you to study a feather, bird, bug, or creature as you looked through your binoculars or held them close in your hand. You enjoyed collecting leaves in the fall and would press them between tiny pieces of wax paper and iron them so we could create nature's stained glass windows to enjoy when the weather turned cold and gray. In the spring, you would delight in the sound of the tiny peepers as their chorus of chirps gave new life to Happy Hollow Road where we lived. You would stop the car in the middle of our quiet drive, turn off the engine, roll down all the windows, and we would just sit and listen to the symphony. The peepers arrived again too. I think they were welcoming you home. It's all those little things that I'm going to miss about you. You believed in giving gifts from the heart. A handmade card, a special meal, a little carved heart that said JR plus LS. Wildflowers picked and arranged so beautifully in a mason jar. Or a loving note tucked inside my bag as I packed a suitcase. They were priceless gifts of love. So I say goodbye to you now, but you know me. I'll be talking to you from time to time because you'll never be far from my heart. You were my friend, my partner, and the love of my life. I'll miss our little family and the meaningful way that our lives intertwine. Your soaring spirit will live on forever in all of the creatures that you've touched. Anytime I find a feather, I will think of you. Maya Angelou said, I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. You made me feel loved, Jim. And I thank you.
A few years ago, Jim was expressing his curiosity about the native food. And so I went to his other Montana, showed him how to make one. And that food is over on the table, which you see another piece of Jim's art. And here it's right. So,
only thing that I have to say is that his job is done. He got his job done a lot sooner than most of us. So, I want to play a song. He always said that he wanted to get together and have a teaching. Play with it, but he never did it. So.
before we close, I want to extend on behalf of Lori again, thanks to everybody who has done so much over the past few weeks. Lori wanted this to be a community event, and I think it's truly been that. We want to thank especially everyone who helped with the event today, setting up the pavilion in such a beautiful way, bringing food and drink to share. And you are all welcome to stay afterwards and share in that food and drink, which is over at the back table. I would also mention that in Jim's honor, my wife brought 2 trays of marble squares. Your traditional relative level. Here are rice and soups.
I'm going to sing When You Wish Upon a Star. And I'll sing the first verse, Bryce will join in. The third verse, we'd like you all to stand and sing. Why don't you all stand now?
When you wish upon a star,
Thank you.